Hello everybody, I'm Leena. In this video, I'm going to break down a number of different ways to approach sun salutations. You'll learn some modifications and some options to really make sun salutations work for your body. First, what are sun salutations? They are a sequence of poses that's really common in yoga classes, especially flow classes. And some of those transitions between different poses are not that accessible. So in this video, you'll learn some ways to make those transitions easier and work better for your body. So first of all, I'm going to show you what a classic sun salutation with lunges looks like, just so you kind of know maybe where it progresses over time for some people. And maybe for you, it's going to look different forever, and that is fine. Yoga is all about making the poses, the practice work for your body and getting what you want out of it, not trying to fit your body into any kind of box. So this is a sun salutation for my body at this moment. And in a sun salutation, I move with my breath. I'm letting my breath guide the pace of my movements. And each breath, there's a bit of a transition or a change in shape. You can also take a sun salutation slower by spending a couple breaths in each shape. Here I'm coming back to down dog, where we often spend a couple of breaths, but I'm going to fast forward and go right into the lunge. And this is the trickiest transition in the sun salutation for many people. That movement takes quite a lot of hip flexion, takes some upper body strength, takes a little bit of balance. So we'll break that down quite a bit. All right, so there you have it. That's a kind of classic sun salutation with lunges. Now let's look at bringing that up a little bit higher using a chair. So you're going to want a sturdy chair, and you'll need to have all 4 feet of your chair secure on your mat. Have the seat of it facing you. All right, let's just start with a little bit of exploration of our breath. So you might take one hand to the front of your belly, just at the base of your ribs, the other hand to your chest. And just start to become aware of your breathing. See if you can breathe slowly through your nose, both in and out through the nose. Now let's start to link movement with breath. So on your next inhale, reach up high. And on your exhale, let your arms float slowly down. Continue with that, following the pace of your own breath for 3 more rounds. Sometimes I imagine that my movements are painting a picture of my breath, of its speed, of its texture. From here, bring your hands down to your hips. So the first movement the first pose after standing in a sun salutation is a forward bend. And we want to initiate this forward bend by hinging at the hips. So with your hands on your hips, you might have your knees a little bent, and then keep your spine long as you tip forward at your hips. And just try that coming up and down a couple times. After we find that initial tip forward, and after you're about halfway forward, then you might let your spine gently round a little further. And then come back up halfway to find that flat back. Let your spine gently curve forward, and then find that flat back one more time. Good. Come all the way up to standing. Reach up. Let your arms float back down, and let's tie these movements together now. On an inhale, Reach up with your breath. On your exhale, bring your arms to the sides, hinge at your hips to fold forward, hands to the chair seat, gently bow. When your next inhale comes, find a flat back, halfway lift. And when your exhale comes, gently bow. Try that one more time. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, gentle bow. Now from here, let's come into our first lunge. Bring your left foot forward, right foot back. Wiggle your feet apart. Make sure your 2 feet are as if they're on 2 separate railroad tracks. Engage from your feet up into your hips to find the sturdiness to come upright and reach up with your inhale. With your exhale, bring your hands back down to the chair seat. Step both feet partially forward or backward and come into a high table shape. You can have a little bend in your knees here, and then lift your tail up, lift your chest forward, coming into a little back bend. This, in the chair version of the Sun Salutation, is instead of a cobra pose. Come to a neutral spine, and with your hands sturdy on the chair seat, walk your feet back to a high plank. Line up from your heels through your hips, shoulders to top of head. Straight and strong, like a wooden plank, rather than like a saggy piece of wet cardboard. So nice and strong. From here, bend your knees a little bit and swoop your hips back, coming into dog on the chair. Your heels could be up or down, and your knees might have a generous bend here. Lift your tail back behind you as you lengthen through your whole spine and through your shoulders and head. All right, we're going to come to our next lunge from here. So come forward a little bit with your shoulders, and then bring your right foot to step up to the chair. Engage from your feet into your hips to get sturdy and rise up. And then on your in-breath, reach up. On your out-breath, float your hands back down. From here, step both feet forward, forward bend, half lift, gently bow, push down through your feet, and rise all the way up. And then let your hands release. So that's a version of a Sun Salutation where the transitions are made a lot more accessible by having the upper body a little bit more upright using the chair. And at any time, you can do those variations whenever you're in a flow class or using a video where you want to make the Sun Salutation a little bit more doable. Feel free to go back and repeat that again if you want to review it. Now I'm going to show some ways to work on some of the challenging transitions, like that transition from down dog into the lunge. And for this, it's really helpful to have a pair of yoga blocks. So you can have them just near the sides of your mat. And then you might just watch these transitions the first time, and then I'm going to, after I demonstrate, I'll talk you through them. So just reviewing the kind of most difficult progression of down dog to lunge, it might look like this. One leg is up, and then I'm bending the knee, really hugging it into the chest and sweeping the foot forward. And for that to be possible for me, I had to lift up onto my fingertips. So maybe the even more difficult version would be to have my hands flat the whole time, but I'm not there right now. So this takes quite a lot of hip flexion. It can be challenging if the flesh in the front of the body is making it kind of hard to get the leg through into that deep hip flexion. So I'm going to show an option for making that more doable. All right, so what it might look like when you're learning this movement, and for many bodies forever it might be this way, is when we lift the leg up and bring it through, we kind of jam into the ground and we come about this far. And then this is not going to be a very stable lunge. We're not wide enough. So in this case, if we kind of land there and we're not far enough forward, drop the back knee and just shimmy that foot forward. Then you can lift the back knee up and carry on and do the rest of the lunge. I'm going to show two more options if that shimmy is not feeling like enough. So again, if you step forward and you're kind of stuck there, you can drop the back knee down, use the opposite hand to give you some stability with the back knee, take a hold of your ankle and hop it forward, getting yourself into that wider stance again. And then again, you can use blocks and whatever you need to kind of give yourself stability to come up into whatever variation of lunge you're doing from there. So that's the knee down ankle hop. And then the final version I'm going to show is just to not even bother with this whole situation, but just drop both knees to start, maybe have the hands on blocks, and then with all that stability of the back knee down, step the foot through, and then from there, come on up to your lunge. So that's a third option, is to just skip the attempt at the swing through and use your time and energy to just drop to the knees, have some stability to step the foot through. You can do it low, or you can do it from this more upright version like that. Okay, that's a great way to work on your balance as well, this little move here. All right, one last variation that is helpful when you're getting closer, if you're working on progressing towards swinging the leg through, is sometimes just to have a little bit of height under the hands. So for example, if I'm in down dog, I could climb my hands up onto some low blocks, and this is gonna give me about 3 inches more clearance to sweep that leg through. So that's an option if you're kind of close, but you're maybe landing here and you're not quite getting all the way through, just to have a little bit more height. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a moment to kind of play with those different options and see which one today is working well for your body. You could go back to reviewing some of the work with the chair, or you can come along with me and try out from down dog on the floor. So make your way to a down dog. Feel free to have some bend in your knees, lift your hips nice and high, and then go ahead and swing your right leg up and back and just see about stepping it through and kind of see where you land. Try bringing the back knee down, maybe a shimmy, maybe a hop, maybe coming all the way upright and finding your lunge from there. So try it on each side. When you're ready, giving your left side a go, seeing if or what options work well for you. Okay. And then once you have an idea of kind of which avenue you want to take there, let's try putting this together into 2 Sun Salutations where you can play with that in the flow. So I'm going to demonstrate with 2 blocks. You could go back to using the chair if you want to do that version instead. And I'm going to kind of give loose guidelines of when to move from shape to shape, but I'd encourage you to try to just following your breath and taking your time with this. So stand in mountain pose with your feet about hips distance apart, and just take a couple moments to notice your breathing. When your next inhale arrives, reach up overhead. With your exhale, hinge at your hips, bow forward to chair, blocks, or floor. Inhale, halfway flat back. On your exhale, gently bow again. Bring your left foot forward, right foot back into a lunge. If you want, you can rise up, making that a high lunge. And then returning your hands down to the floor. Come on back into a plank pose from here, shoulders over your wrists, long straight line through your whole body. Lower down to your knees and keeping your body as much as possible in one long line, lower down to the floor. With your hands slid back beside your ribs, roll your shoulders back, rise up into cobra. And gently release your spine, push up to your hands and knees, and then push down and forward through your hands, up and back through your hips, coming into your down dog. Take a breath or two here. And just remember the options you have for bringing the right foot forward into the lunge. And from here, you might lift the right leg or you might drop right down to the knees. Step your foot forward. Taking whatever steps you need to find a nice long stance where your front knee is over top of your ankle. Maybe rising up for your high lunge. From here, step forward, forward bend. On your inhale, flat back. On your exhale, bow. Push down through your feet as you inhale, rise up. As you exhale, release your hands. Let's do one more round. Feel free to practice the same options or try something a little different. Bowing forward when you're ready. Flat back on your inhale. From here, lunge your left foot back this time. Maybe a high lunge or any other variation you like. Coming into your plank. I like to lower to my knees first, then down to the ground. Push into your feet, strengthen your back body to rise into a small cobra. Find your way back to hands and knees. Lift your hips, down dog. This time it's the left foot that's going to come through. So when you're ready, lift that left leg up. Play with swinging it through or coming down to a knee, hopping the foot through. Feel free to use blocks. Maybe rising up to your high lunge. And step forward again. Halfway lift and a gentle bow. Root down through your feet. Reach all the way up. And gently release your hands. Standing in mountain pose to finish that sun salutation. Just take a moment to notice how you feel. I hope that that gave you some helpful approaches for exploring sun salutations and making them work for your body. And I'll hope to see you in practice again sometime soon.